Bye, Jew. Bye, Jew. Welcome to episode 3 of Breaking PSYCHles. Today we will be discussing abuse with one of my favorite people, Miss Michelle Sherrod, the Michelle Sherrod. One of one. I decided to choose Miss Michelle to do this interview because I feel that she is one of the strongest people that I know and one of the most hardcore women that I know. And people don't, think that when they see her beautiful, light-skinned little face, they think, oh, she's a softie. Oh, no. She has a story to tell. So we're going to jump right into that story. Are you familiar with the cycle of abuse?
I'm familiar with it because of what I've been through myself. Okay. So my cycle, yes.
Okay, but not the general cycle of abuse. The acute explosive phase, which basically is the peak of the violence, which is when a big argument or disagreement happens and the first sign of physical violence takes place. It can be a shove, the screaming at the top of the lungs, usually like a push or a restriction to leave the tension area or something like that. And then it goes to the honeymoon phase, which is right after the violent act happens. There's the remorse stage where the abuser is remorseful and asking for forgiveness and promising never to do the act again. And then the cycle kind of repeats itself. So that's basically what the general consensus of the abuse cycle says. At what age did you first see or experience any form of abuse growing up?
I would say maybe about 12, 13.
Okay.
And it was my mother and father, and not any physical abuse.
Okay.
And just things being said to each other that at that age I would think was going to lead to physical abuse, but it never did. And I'm not saying like cursing or bashing, just arguing and not sitting down communicating to resolve a problem. Just arguing
bickering.
And right.
Got you. Okay. Do you think that now that you've grown up and you've experienced your own experiences that physical abuse is worse than verbal abuse or vice versa?
No, I think they're all equally bad. I wouldn't say one is worse than the other because they all can have a lasting effect on a person. What I will say that will put it in a way to say the worst possible thing out of those is to have multiple, like to have all of them done to you.
Gotcha, at the same time.
Right.
I know that a lot of people assume that because you look a certain type of way or because you carry yourself a certain type of way that you can't be a victim of abuse. Do you feel like because of your appearance, people have assumed that that's not something that could have happened to you, or you're not the type of person who would tolerate something like that? Or what do you think people's ideas of you were based on your appearance?
Definitely. I'm a pretty straightforward person, but I haven't always been this way. People who've known me when I was younger, I would say I was quiet. I won't say shy. I was quiet, but in front of family, it was always. But I was the type of person that would go in a room and basically laugh and joke to get to know people, but I'm a listener at first.
Gotcha. And do you think, I guess, once some people who are close to you found out about your experiences, it took them by surprise? Because I know that a lot of abused people have that sort of pressure from their family and friends.
No, I didn't get that. When I was going through the abuse, I don't think it was a thing that was a norm. Like a lot of that now.
Okay.
But you're talking about, almost 30 years ago.
Gotcha. So it wasn't like a common thing for people to be
right.
in those type
And
of
even if they
situations.
were, I think, again, at my age and being in a relationship, a lot of that too, wasn't going on at that time when I was coming up. Relationships weren't so, accepted by parents.
Gotcha.
A lot of things that you did, you hid. So again, that also made me easy access to the abuse as well, because I was engaging in a relationship that my parents didn't even know about at first.
Gotcha. So it was easy for the situation to happen because not a lot of people were exposed to what was going on.
Right.
Gotcha.
And it was my first relationship, so.
Okay. I don't know if you've seen the docuseries Surviving R. Kelly.
I have.
Okay, and they spoke about him being a victim of abuse himself, and a lot of the times they've connected people who are abusers to former abuse. Do you feel like in order to become an abuser you have to have had some sort of exposure to abuse yourself, or is that something that can just come from other types of experiences outside of abuse?
Other types of experiences.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think that you have to have seen it or been a victim of it. I think it could have been just a makeup of who you are. Like I said earlier, I seen that type of abuse as far as my parents arguing. And I said, and again, my dad was a very good dad, a gentleman, from the South. He's never called my mom out of her name, so it wasn't that kind of abuse. I was scared. I'm like, is there somebody else here?
Okay. Yeah, you were saying basically that that's not the case, and
I just don't think it is.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Again, I think, your upbringing, your personality, if you feel like you're not getting enough of this or that, it may make you turn into a bully or, do things for attention. And it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're lacking those things at home all the time either. Gotcha. I think it's just your makeup. Like, as kids, as infants, they grow into their own personality. So you can kind of get a feel of what that person is going to be like.
Yeah.
So again, like you said, things that happen in your life will either send you down this path or that path. And that's what I was saying as far as abuse,
Gotcha. Share the same impact. Because no matter what, if it's verbal, physical, if it's impacting you in that way of trapping your mind in the mentality of being victimized, then it's still a negative thing. So how do you feel you were able to overcome your situation? What was like the hardest part of overcoming your abuse and being able to understand that was something that you wouldn't tolerate or didn't accept as being part of your life?
The biggest part? I thought it was forgiving.
Okay.
Did I think I could ever forgive him for that? Going through it, no.
Okay.
First coming out, I felt like I had.
Okay.
But I think I was just going through the motion because I think it was just the right thing to do. Some years down the line is when I found out that I really didn't forgive him because I was still allowing some things to still get to me, still controlling my life, and it had been over for years. So when you find yourself remembering talking to a person or that person and that they can put you back in that same space, you really haven't forgiven that person or moved on.
Going through the experiences that you went through, coming out of the experiences, and now looking back, do you have any regrets that you feel you carry with you as far as when you were in the situation that you would have done differently in order to, I guess, get out of the situation sooner or protect yourself in a better way?
Definitely. Regrets of not loving myself enough to get out when it first happened. Thinking back, he showed signs of it very early, before it was even really a relationship. Again, people tend to do harsh things to people in a joking way. So you don't really, feel like, oh, that's what the person is. So when you hear people show signs of who they really are, you just not listening. That's a deep statement.
Yeah.
Because it's so true. Unfortunately, a lot of us have to go through things before we really sit back and observe and listen to a person's actions to hear who they really are.
Yeah, that's true. I know a lot of people who, walk around and they're in relationships and they think that their relationship is, going by smoothly, and really they're in abusive situations. Do you have any advice for women who may be in that type of situation or trying to get out of that situation, or have just gotten out of that situation?
Well, ever since when I was younger, when I was going through the abuse, I never was too embarrassed to talk about it. I think that was one of my strong points, how I was able to survive it, because things could have been much worse. Even the effects that it has on me to the day. I just think that if I didn't have that opportunity to vent as much as I did, it could have been a bad situation for me. I'm not saying that it didn't have any type of effect on me, and I'm not going to say that it doesn't have any type of effect on me today. But I'm open to listen to myself and know what I want. Again, that was my first relationship, and I really didn't know what I want. I was just a young girl, and somebody said that they loved me and liked me and was showing me extra attention, and definitely, and that's why I say you don't seem to want those type of things from men or boys out here, because you're not getting it at home, because it was just me and my brother, and we were considered privileged, spoiled children. Both of our parents married, both of them living together, and I was a daddy's girl. And I definitely didn't lack any attention at home. I think it was just me going into, just growing up. Yeah. And unfortunately, again, doing something I had no business doing, so I didn't know who to go to, or could I go to anybody, because I know I'm sneaking.
Yeah.
So a lot of it went on, again, like I said, because of that. The advice that I would give to anyone, which I tell my daughter today, don't take any of it. Because the first time you don't address it and let them know how serious you are about it. I'm not saying just have a conversation, like, don't do that again. And, every action is a reaction. So for his actions, you need to react. And it needs to be a good, firm reaction that I'm telling you, if this is who you are, I'm not going to take it. So you need to check yourself. And I'm going to step back and I'm going to let you check yourself. And if I ever see any signs of it again, I'm out.
Yeah. You mentioned something about, who were you supposed to go to when the situation is a sneak situation. And I know a lot of the people who had watched the R. Kelly docuseries were placing blame on the parents for their daughters being in these situations, for them putting themselves in these situations. And one of the defenses that I had for some people is that we all were teenagers and we all know how easy it was for you to say, Mom, Dad, I'm at Tanya's house, and really you're at Edward's house.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't really blame the parents if they have established a trust bond relationship with their kids, and then their kids take advantage of that and are out here doing things that they're not supposed to be doing, putting themselves in situations where then who can they go to and say, hey, I'm in this bad situation, when nobody knows about the situation. What do you feel like parents, especially mothers, can do to establish that relationship where the kid will feel open to say, I'm doing this action, I know it may not be the smartest decision, but what should I do?
Well, me, from the abuse, I've always been open and straightforward with any child that I've had in my home or in my heart or hold dear and close to me. And even people, period, women, period. I've been able to pick up on girls that's come here that's been in some type of abuse of relationships. I pick it up. I can't really put it into words what it is. Only thing I can think of is the word withdrawal. How they act when that person calls them. I see it, and I see it because I was there. I felt like I was living a double life, right in my own home, going down into my basement, being a whole different person downstairs. And as soon as I came upstairs, totally different person. Mood change, not smiling, none of that. It seems like you start to try to dim your light.
Change aspects of who you are because you know if I say this or do this,
right,
I'm going to be in this situation.
And you find yourself trying to live up to their expectations, trying to live up to what you think or what you know is going to piss them off, and then it's still not good enough. Mm-hmm. It still happens. And that's where it changed for me. Mm-hmm. Because I know I gave 110%. I've done everything. I did the act out, got hardcore, I'm going to fight back. Mm-hmm. I'm going to surrender. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to ignore. I'm a talk back. And nothing, no matter what I did, was good enough. It still never stopped the
whatever
abuse.
That
it
action
still
was.
Yeah. You start to think, like, what did I do? Like, is it me? Like, I did what he wanted me to do. I said what he wanted,
Yeah, like, what else was I supposed... Like, how could I have prevented the situation from going to this extent?
And I found myself not even knowing myself anymore.
I guess a lot of women put themselves in situations, and really it's just a lack of understanding self and loving self, because if you put yourself in a position where you would say, what I want this to happen to my insert loved one name, whether it be a mom, a sister, a daughter, and if the answer is no and you're in that situation, then you know that I wouldn't want this to happen to somebody I love, but I'm allowing it to happen to me. And that's when it gets to a point where it's like, okay, do I really value myself enough to...
Every time it happened, and I'm not justifying that it happened in front of my children. It happened in front of children I've taken care of. But each and every time, no matter what form of it was, we had a conversation about it. It was no secrets for me. Mm-hmm. I wanted them to know that they can say whatever they needed to say to me, and I let them know that this is not acceptable. Mm-hmm. This is not what you allow to happen. You are a queen. You deserve to be loved and respected. I'm just in a situation, and I promise you that I'm going to get out. And it's going to take time, but I promise you I'm going to get out. It's just not me saying, you have this saying, you do as I say, not as I do. Like, who really does that? Like, kids don't really understand that. It's just, you know what I mean? Yeah. And you need to explain, and I think a lot of times parents feel like they don't have to explain themselves to their children, and I don't feel that way.
Absolutely. You're right. There is no explanation. There is no, this bad thing happened, so let's sit down and have a conversation. And because of that, a lot of kids are going out here, A, thinking it's right, B, replicating that same behavior in other situations.
Or seeking advice from other people.
Exactly. Seeking advice from people that really shouldn't be advising them, because they too don't know the answers to these questions. And I put responsibility on the parents in regards to educating their children about what is right and what is wrong and what is communication, because you can know right and wrong and still not talk about things, and that's how you end up in these fishy
Right.
situations.
It's so easy to do wrong.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't want to set my kids up to have a double, you know,
Yeah.
because wrong comes so easy. It's like a second nature.
Yep.
At one point, I never knew that it's a self-esteem thing. And any woman that's accepting any type of abuse from a man, it's low self-esteem.
Absolutely.
And people think it's a degree on it, like, oh, she got low self-esteem, she might just be not having a... No, you have self-esteem problems, period.
We all do, in some way, shape, or form. And how it's reflected is how you allow other people to treat you, really, because if you're a person who carries themselves to a high standard and, you know, look at yourself as somebody who demands respect and deserves respect, the people around you are going to give that to you, or else they're not going to have a space. But when you're in a position where you have friends who can say and do anything to you, and you have your parents and your siblings who can say and do anything to you, obviously a lover is going to come into that situation and see this and take advantage of that and use that to their advantage. I think it all stems back to self, and especially when you're young, you really don't have a sense of self. And when you're at the ages of like 18, 21, you really think like, I got this. Like, I know exactly what I'm doing.
And this
I
is
know
when you're
everything.
really going through the test.
Yeah,
The
for real, for
test
real.
of times
Yeah.
is really, you know, because again, like I said, you still have someone taking care of you, somebody that you're constantly hiding these things from.
Yep.
But when you're actually of age and you feel like I don't need to hide it, that's when a whole bunch of other things surface.
Yep.
And you feel like you don't have to hide it. I'm out here, just it is what it is. I'm grown.
Yep.
But you're faced with a whole bunch of other things because now you're have that, you know, that vulnerability and.
Yeah, and it's adulting. That's what happens when the older you get. You're like, oh wait, I didn't know this is what this meant. Oh, I didn't know that how this was gonna translate into my adulthood from my childhood. Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know
because a lot of times
that
I
was
would
a bad
say-
relationship. Or
Yes, and that's what I was going to say. A lot of times you think back at something that happened when you were a little girl or something and you really didn't understand it, or you might have been mad at your mom for it, and now you think back, you was like, oh my goodness.
like she was going
Like,
through her
she
stuff.
was-
Like,
yeah.
I didn't even know she
like,
did.
and I added to it. I was like really mad at her. Like, dang.
That's how it be. That's how it
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
be. Definitely how it be.
I definitely see my change through my children.
Okay.
My son was actually, you know, my first child, and that's when I was really like right in the abuse. The abuse started
Gotcha.
like right before I was pregnant with him, and then right on, you know, up until he was in the Head Start.
Okay.
It went on that long, you know, went on for a while. So then with Tamira, you just see the strong Michelle, that mom that's coming out, and I'm not gonna take nobody's nothing. Like, it is what it is. I also found myself feeling like I have a daughter who can go through this. And I think I kind of took it different. Of course, that's my son, and you don't think guy's going to be in an abusive relationship, but you know that your daughter is a great possibility that it can happen. So I couldn't allow her to think that it was okay. Not saying that I didn't think about that with him, and because if he's a male, and also because, you know, I'm older.
Yep.
You know, I was 17, 18 when I had my son. So I think he teases me, saying I raised TT better than people say that you have a favorite child. I don't think I have a favorite child.
I think every parent has a favorite child. But
I don't. Do you think you lived here? Do you think I had a favorite child? Think about it.
I think I'm gonna take that back. I don't think that you had a favorite child. I think every parent looks at their child from its own individual light. If you're a good parent,
there you go.
You look at it like, this is my da-da-da child.
Yep.
This is my da-da-da child.
I'll take that.
And this is my da-da-da. I think if all parents took that sort of approach where it's like, you, first of all, giving you the opportunity to come back later and talk, first and foremost.
Definitely.
Because some people would just be like, once it's said and done, that's a wrap. Don't bring it up to me again. But opening that door to say, come back and talk to me later. But also you know, just being open to that communication, because I feel like that's what established the relationship between me and you and T and Goy over the years. It's just that you gave us that freedom to say, hey, can we talk? Mm-hmm. And a lot of parents aren't doing that, and
but
that's the reason
lead by
why.
Example.
Absolutely,
you can't
Absolutely.
Just ask your child to talk, and you're steadily not talking to them. And that's why I always talk to you guys. Like, if I had to drop you off to school, have a good day. Mm-hmm. As soon as y'all walked in the door, y'all, well, what's up? What happened in school today? And I never forgot when you guys went through something. Well, what happened with so and so? How did you handle so and so? And I wasn't always quick to give y'all the answer. I had to let y'all go through y'all, and then when you needed me, and then if it was an adult involved, you know.
No, for real though. Being in these types of relationships of abuse, if they had the openness to communicate with somebody, even if it's not your parent, you know, just a trusted, wise person, preferably somebody who has been through some things, because a lot of kids are seeking advice from people their age who have never. You can't like say, oh, how should I be in a married relationship, friend, if your friend has never been in a married relationship. So I think parents just establishing that sense of trust. Your kid should be comfortable enough to say, hey, such and such did this to me and made me feel uncomfortable. Or I don't know if you saw that thing on Facebook where the like a teenage girl went to her mom and was telling her mom that her boyfriend was touching on her, and the mom like was like, that didn't happen, like you just trying to ruin my relationship, and like all this stuff. It was like they reenacted something that actually happened, but basically that was just an example of how situations like that really do happen, where the even the mom having that low self-esteem and wanting and yearning for the presence of a man so badly that she's willing to dismiss the accusations of her child.
And the thing too is, even if your child is acting out and you know that your child lies, every and any situation deserves its own fair opportunity to have a talk about it, and for you to believe that this is the truth,
not based on what has happened in the past.
And I think that's, again, we as parents teach our children how to start treating other people.
Yep. And I
still working
remember
that.
Yes, I vividly remember my mom. I was a kid and I was doing something. I think I stole like a fruit roll up from this girl named Christine Hutnell. Sorry, Christine Hutnell, if you ever see this video. I really am sorry. That's like really, I'm really sorry about that. That was a childhood thing that I. But anyway, so my mom found out about it, and I was lying. I didn't do it. Finally, I was like, oh my God, I did it.
Roll up, Naja.
I did it. I stole it. I did it. So the lesson that she told me that day was, she was like, I'm not beating you because you stole the fruit roll up. I'm beating you because you lied about stealing the fruit roll up. Mm-hmm. So pretty much after that, I was like, I might as well just tell. They're going to find out anyway. Somehow parents always find out. Coming from where we come from, people aren't accustomed to communicating in the most effective way, especially when we're angry. Nobody communicates well when they're angry, but we have a lot more reasons to be angry than most people, because we get the short end of the stick in most cases. We all have in some way, shape, or form seen, heard, or felt and experienced some form of abuse. But I think it's important, like Miss Michelle said, to be open and transparent about your experiences, and to never feel shame for going through something that you really wouldn't have thought or wanted to go through. Because I feel like all of us grow up and say, I would never, or that would never happen to me, or I could never. And you just never know until you're in that situation. And you just never know what a person is going through or has been through to judge anybody for the situations that they have been through. So I just think it's important for us as women and for us as minorities to really just try to open ourselves up to hear people out better, and to just listen to people's stories, and to not look at a person and think we know what they have been through or what they are currently going through, because all of us have our own stories to tell. And thank you for sharing your story with us today. And if you are a person who has experienced or is in an abusive relationship, you know, speak up, talk to somebody that is close to you, that you care about, that is willing to hear you out, and figure out what you can do to get yourself out of the situation, because everybody deserves love, everybody deserves to be happy, and no one should tolerate any form of abuse. You should be respected and loved, whether that be from a guy, a girl, your parents, your friends. It's something that you want to teach people when you're meeting new people, is how to respect you and love you. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you for coming on my show, Breaking PSYCHles. Hopefully my football don't come out. Thank you guys for watching. Like, share, subscribe, swipe up, scroll to the left, scroll to the right. I don't know which one I'm gonna have to do. Breaking PSYCHles.